What if I told you that you've already won the most important battle of your life, but no one has ever handed you the trophy? Have you ever felt like you're carrying the world on your back, but no one around you can see the weight? Have you ever cried in silence while everyone thought you were okay? Have you ever questioned if there is any greater purpose for all this pain you went through alone? The truth is that most people are walking through this life without realizing that they have already achieved something extraordinary. They have gone through trials that would break ordinary souls, but since there is no diploma for spiritual survival, they simply move on, without celebration, without recognition. But what if there were signs? What if there were invisible marks that prove that you have not only survived, but transcended? Dolores Cannon spent decades studying the contracts of the soul and discovered something revolutionary. Before you were born, you chose your greatest challenges. And now, at this very moment, you may be on the other side of the most difficult test your soul has ever faced. Let me show you the signs that you probably overlooked. There comes a time, silent, uncelebrated, and often misunderstood, when your soul finally breathes, not because life has gotten easier, but because you've changed. You have faced storms that no one has seen. You cried behind smiles, you questioned everything, and more importantly, you kept going. Dolores Cannon, the beloved past life regressist and spiritual pioneer, often spoke about soul contracts, the deep agreements we make before we are even born. According to her, many of us came here with missions, with tests of the soul. And these tests were not just challenges. They're designed to activate your soul's memory, to shake you until you remember who you really are. And here's the amazing part. You may have already passed the hardest part, but since this isn't a school and there's no certificate, many people never realize how far they've really come. So today, I'm going to walk you through 8 powerful signs. Signs that Dolores Cannon would say mean that you passed the hardest test your soul chose before you were born. And the last sign is one that almost no one talks about. You used to value connection above all else, friends, family, acquaintances. The more people around you, the safer you felt. You laughed with them, you cried with them, you built your identity around their approval. But now it's different. Somewhere along the journey of your spiritual awakening, people began to leave. Sometimes it was subtle, a conversation that didn't flow, unanswered messages, plans that fell apart. Other times it was explosions, disagreements, cold goodbyes. And while part of you still misses them, a deeper part has stopped needing them because now you understand something that most people don't. Their exit was necessary for your upliftment. Dolores Cannon taught that the evolution of the soul often requires isolation. Why? Because your vibration is shifting to a level that not everyone is ready to keep up with. And instead of pulling you back, the universe just lets them go. It's not cruelty, it's cosmic compassion. At first, it hurts. You wonder if there's something wrong with you. You overthink every interaction, go over every word, hoping to fix it. But here's the truth. You didn't do anything wrong. You have overcome an energy field that no longer supported your soul's next phase. And in their place, silence, emptiness, and then peace. A deep soul-level peace that doesn't rely on validation, likes, or chat groups. You get to enjoy your own company. You realize that your energy is sacred. You start to protect your time, your space, your heart. And strangely, you start to feel more complete than ever. Because the hardest test wasn't losing friends. It was learning to let go without guilt. Choosing solitude over superficiality, realizing that you were never truly alone, just surrounded by people who couldn't see the real you. And now you are no longer afraid to walk alone because your soul walks by your side. There was a time when you relied on the headlines, when he believed that the systems had his best interest in mind, when the words of experts and the structure of society gave him a sense of order and belonging. But then something cracked. Maybe it was an outright lie. Maybe it was a contradiction you couldn't ignore. Perhaps it was a deep inner knowing that whispered, "That doesn't feel right." And once that crack appeared, the whole illusion began to unravel. You began to see the gaps in the narrative, the manipulations in the media, the programming of fear, the distractions aimed at consumerism. And suddenly you were wide awake in a sleeping world. Dolores Cannon spoke of this moment as the lifting of the veil, when the soul passes through the illusion of the 3D matrix and begins to remember its sovereign truth. And this memory is not comfortable. It is disorienting. It shakes its foundation. You begin to realize how deeply conditioned you have been, and the scariest part, how willing you were to believe everything. You start questioning everything. Why do we glorify overwork? Why are we taught obedience instead of intuition? Why does fear dominate all institutions? And each question leads to a deeper layer of awakening. You start to disconnect from the TV, the algorithms, the noise. You turn inward. You rely less on conventional information and more on energetic resonance. Don't you just ask, is that true? You ask, is this aligned? You realize that the truth is not always popular, that your inner knowing will often contradict the external noise, and yet you trust him because he passed the test. The test wasn't about being awake. It was about having the courage to unlearn, to deprogram, to reclaim your mind. And now, instead of being pulled by the headlines, you move by intuition. Instead of reacting to fear, you respond with sovereignty. Instead of being a follower, you have become a conscious creator of your own reality. Once upon a time, you were easily fooled. Not because he was naive, but because he led with his heart. You gave people the benefit of the doubt. You believed in the potential. You wanted to see the good in everyone, even when your intuition screamed otherwise. But now you see through it all. Words don't impress you. Status doesn't influence you. Smiles don't seduce you. You have developed a sensitivity, an energetic radar that picks up what is hidden. And when someone's energy doesn't match your words, you feel it in your bones. Dolores Cannon referred to this as multidimensional perception, a gift of the soul that activates once you have evolved beyond the ego's need for approval. You are no longer fooled by charm. You feel the agenda behind the kindness. You feel the manipulation behind the flattery. And more importantly, you no longer betray your intuition to keep the peace. It's not that you're critical. You have discernment. You don't judge people for who they are, but you set energetic boundaries because your peace is now more important than anyone's opinion. This is one of the clearest signs that you have passed the most difficult test of the soul. You trust your energy above appearances. You value truth over popularity. You walk away without explanation when something seems wrong. And the most powerful change, you no longer feel the need to expose others. You just quietly walk away because you've learned that protecting your energy is more powerful than proving a point. You've noticed that. The people around you are changing. Strangers open up in minutes. Friends trust you with stories they've never told anyone. Even online, you seem to attract comments, messages, and followers who are navigating deep emotional or spiritual awakenings. You're not a therapist. You never asked for that. And yet people feel safe around them. Why? Because your energy has become a healing frequency. Dolores Cannon described this as the emergence of the wounded healer archetype, those who have walked through their own shadows and now unconsciously become beacons for others. You didn't read about healing in a book. You lived it. You felt the bottom of the well. You faced your demons. You cried until there was nothing left. And in that pain, you found your power. Now that power radiates silently. You don't give advice. You keep the space. You don't fix people. You reflect their strength back to them. And because you have passed the most difficult tests of the soul, your very presence becomes medicine. You begin to attract soul families, those with similar missions, similar wounds, similar calls. You collaborate instead of competing. You elevate rather than impress. You connect instead of control. And the most amazing part, you never planned this. You simply became the version of yourself that needed it most. And now, the universe is sending people who need exactly that version. That's how you know you've turned your pain into purpose. Before, you were a set of triggers. Someone's tone could ruin your day. A message could make you spiral. Criticism could seem like treason. But now you pause, you breathe, you observe. You have become the calm in the chaos. It's not because you're numb. It's because you've mastered emotional alchemy. Dolores Cannon said that passing the soul's greatest test requires a shift from emotional reactivity to spiritual responsibility. And that's exactly what you did. You don't take things personally anymore. You no longer fight to be right. You no longer react from the wound. You answer from wisdom. That doesn't mean you don't feel it. In fact, you feel it more deeply than ever before. But now your emotions don't control you. You feel them without becoming them. That pause between the trigger and the reaction, that's where your soul lives. That's emotional mastery. That's frequency stabilization. And it means that you passed the test, because the real test wasn't about controlling others. It was about mastering yourself, and you did it. You don't see the world as others do. For most people, this is a physical world, random, chaotic, concrete. But for you, it's layered, symbolic, alive. You see synchronicities as messages, repeated numbers as blinks from the universe, dreams as portals. You have come to understand that reality is a mirror, and your inner world projects itself outwards. Dolores Cannon explained this through the lens of quantum consciousness. We live in a holographic simulation where the soul represents lessons, karma, and evolution as a dream within a dream. And somehow you understand. You can read the patterns. You understand the power of intention. You know how a choice reverberates through timelines. You have stopped looking for God in heaven. You see God in everything. In the leaves, in the losses, in the laughter, in the silence. And that awareness, that's the sign. You no longer see life as something happening to you. You see it as something happening through you. You've stopped asking, why is this happening? And started asking, what is this teaching me? This change is the graduation of the soul. For as long as you can remember, something has seemed wrong. You couldn't explain it. It was not sadness. Not exactly. It was more like a cosmic pain, a feeling that you didn't belong. No matter where you went, there was a low hum of homesickness inside your spirit, a longing for something or somewhere you couldn't name. Dolores Cannon described this as the soul's memory of its true origin, a deep subconscious recollection of lives in other dimensions, star systems, or planes of consciousness. And for years that pain remained, until now, because now she's gone. You feel rooted, you feel ready, you feel at home, not in a place, but in yourself. And this is the definitive sign. The most difficult test of the soul was to remember why it came here, to alchemize pain, to heal karmic cycles, to awaken the divine blueprint. And now that you've done that, the pain doesn't serve you anymore. It has been replaced by purpose. And the question changed from where do I belong to who can I help? This is the final proof that you are no longer lost. You remembered. This is the final and most powerful signal. The fear of death is the root of all fears. But now that fear has disappeared, you no longer see death as an end. You see it as a return, a reunion with the divine. You have had glimpses, perhaps in dreams, perhaps in meditation, perhaps in the stillness after grief, where you have felt your soul expand beyond the body. Dolores Cannon has dedicated her life to exploring what happens after death. And what she discovered over thousands of hypnosis sessions was this: death is not real. It's just a door. And now you feel it. You walk through life with peace, not panic. You no longer waste time fearing loss because you know that nothing real can be lost. That doesn't mean you want to die. It means that you are no longer controlled by the idea of death. You appreciate life even more. Not because it is fleeting, but because it is sacred. Because you know the soul goes on. Because you've seen glimpses of the beyond. And now, instead of fearing the end, you're focused on living fully. This change is the mark of a soul that has truly awakened. Here's the truth. Most people go through the greatest tests of their souls in silence. No audience, no confetti, no applause. But the universe knows. Your guides know, and deep down, your soul knows. If these signals resonated, even if only a few, then you're not just in the way. You have crossed a threshold that very few souls reach in a single lifetime. You didn't just survive. You remembered, you have transformed, and now your light is no longer hidden. And so, dear soul traveler, here we are at the end of this journey of recognition. If you have come this far and felt your heart tighten, if tears have touched your eyes, if something inside you has whispered, "I knew it," then there is no longer any doubt. You are not ordinary. You are not just another one. You are a spiritual warrior who went through hell and came back with wisdom etched in your soul. Don't expect the world to recognize this, because the world is still learning to see beyond the visible. But the universe sees it. Your spirit guides celebrate. And your soul, that eternal, indestructible part of you, it knows exactly what it has accomplished. From now on, every step you take will no longer be one of survival, but of mission. You are no longer finding yourself, you are manifesting. And best of all, your journey does not end here. It has only just begun to shine in the frequency that has always been intended for you. Welcome to the other side of the veil. So walk with pride, soul traveler. You passed the most difficult test, and the universe is watching.